on? We are Geeks Not Nerds. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm the real Manos.
And Manos, welcome to your first ever Geeks Not Nerds episode.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. This is the... I can't believe I'm here. I've never done any Geeks Not Nerds. I've always wanted to.
I can't believe I'm here. It's so exciting. I've only been on your channel 6 billion times, but I've never done this show. So it feels like being in a new place.
Yeah, but I feel like I'm on the flagship of this channel.
That's true. That's a good call. Today, Manos and I are going to talk about a topic that Manos came up with. Manos is doing some conventions, some conventions. He's going all over the place. He's doing like 6 conventions in one weekend. No, Manos is doing a convention this weekend. I'm attending a convention this weekend. Manos wanted to talk about something having to do with cons. What do you want to talk about today, Manos?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about, some of my experiences with cons, because I've actually had a bit of a unusual circumstance, although you should share this thing too, is I've been going to cons for a few years now, and I've generally gone as a fan, but in the last few years since I've started becoming an independent creator, I've been going as an artist, and also sometimes... added to the fact that I do YouTube videos, and I have somewhat of a following on Real Manos, and I have a following, I guess, here. So it's interesting now that I've kind of seen the world from both sides now, and it's really interesting now. I love conventions, and to be honest, it's one of my favorite things ever. Every time I walk into a convention and it's a nice big show and a big convention room, I just feel at home. And I have been doing, I think since 2011, I've been doing conventions as an artist, usually in artist alleys. I've been a guest a couple times, but usually artist alley. And I just wanted to share a few, just a few experiences and, just a few thoughts on the whole thing. And you've done conventions too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I've done lots of different things at cons. I've gone to promote the YouTube channel. I've gone as a game show host a few times. I've done trivia shows. I guess I've done that 3 times. I've gone to science fiction literature cons as a panelist and as an author. So I've done and I've done not just comic shows, but like I said, also sci-fi cons. And I've been going to conventions since I was a kid, back in junior high school. For the Star Trek cons, and I used to take my club to those.
My first convention, I went as a fan, but I also went kind of pitching the comic book I'm doing actually right now, and I went back in '93 at Philadelphia Wizard World, and I may have told you this. This was my first real big convention. And it was coincidentally the convention where Peter David and Todd McFarlane were having that debate.
Yeah, I think you told this story on the channel, but I'm sure a lot of people haven't heard it. They haven't heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was literally the first thing my friend Kevin and I did. We walked in, and it was just starting, so we went immediately to that room, and it was that was a packed house. And for those of you who don't know what the heck I'm talking about. Peter David and Todd McFarlane had some disagreements back in the day, and it all had to do with when the original Image group first started. They were making some business deals that were making people uncomfortable. They were getting some press here and there that was like almost from Wizard Comics, from Wizard Magazine, and Hero Illustrated, which was another publication. A lot of like pro pieces and very promo pieces that were kind of fluff. And then occasionally there were like articles written in other magazines that were, criticizing them. And they had disagreements on if they were having like a fair shake of everything. And so Tom McFarlane challenged Peter David to a debate about it. And okay, Todd McFarlane was planning to do this thing where he was going to like embarrass Peter David, where he was going to come up with cheerleaders and a guy in a Bad Rock costume, and he was dressed up as Rocky, because Tom McFarlane loves to play the underdog all the time, while at the same time being the most rich, most powerful comic book creator. But he's also an underdog, and he also tries to play both sides, and he tried to do it with this. And George Perez was the moderator, and they were both agreed on him because he had moderator experience, and George Perez did not allow it. So Todd McFarlane had no choice but to just go in his Rocky trunks.
Oh man! So he'd actually gotten ready for that.
Yes,
that's hilarious.
Literally at the last minute, George Perez saw all this stuff. I saw the cheerleaders, and I saw the guy in the Bad Rock costume, and he didn't allow him to do it.
Which is hilarious because, of course, McFarlane paid for all that. It's probably several grand. That's hilarious.
And yeah, he had it all set, and Perez told him, look, you do this, no debate. I'm going to call it right now, and we all go home. No. And he was forced to comply. And
honestly, if you were going to make if you were going to make it into a joke, I don't know why you would think you could get away with that with having a moderator. Like, why would you do that at a moderated debate?
My guess is, I don't remember exactly, but I'm willing to wager Peter David suggested George Perez because they're friends, and he knows that. And McFarlane liked and respected him too, so I guess they agreed upon that. But I guess he didn't think that. I guess he didn't think that would be a problem. So he had nothing. What's so embarrassingly hilarious is McFarlane had nothing after that. He had no plan. So Peter David walked up, and his opening statements was devastating, and it was hilarious, and it was insightful, and it was right for the throat. And then McFarlane literally had nothing for. And by the way, this was an hour, and we watched McFarlane just stumble throughout the whole thing, to the point where Peter David has written about this afterwards. And he said halfway through it, he even started to feel sorry. It's like, oh man, I'm going to pull back and start pulling my punches.
Is that recorded at a place where anybody can listen to it?
It wasn't recorded. It wasn't recorded, but there was a transcript published in Comic Buyer's Guide, and I actually have a copy of it. And it's literally the entire debate written down. If you like, maybe I can. I have to dig it up. If you want, I'll see if I can shoot you a copy of it.
Yeah, because
it's a fascinating read.
Yeah.
And I got to meet Peter David after the show. The debate, but it was a show.
Yeah.
Just told him how much I was a fan of his work, and how much I wanted to be a writer and stuff like that. And then he did an article, editorial talking about his reflections about the debate. And he talked about how bad he felt about McFarlane and how the whole thing left a bad taste in his mouth. And he said there was one thing that made him feel good. And he said this kid in glasses and a suit and tie walked up and said how much he wanted to be like a writer. And he said he wrote down the exact same thing I said to him. And because I said I felt like being a writer in comics now is becoming unimportant. And you made me feel like, it is worthwhile again. And he almost quoted that exactly. And he said, if there's anything that I took away that made me feel better about the debate, it was that. And I when I read that, I could not believe that.
That's really cool.
It was extremely cool. And let's see, I tried to pitch what used to be Red Knight. To independent comedy companies when I was there, and nobody was buying it or anything. Nobody was interested. And then a few years later, I, of course, decided to self-publish the book because I just couldn't find anybody interested. And I started doing Artist Alley tables, and I don't know how many fans watching this will go to Artist Alley tables. I don't know if fans just do the panels and the dealer shops. I don't know how I hope if you're watching this, you walk through Artist Alley tables, because there's so much good talent and so much earnest creators walking around there, putting their hearts into their work and trying to bring it to you and sell it. It's definitely worth checking out, because there's I try to always walk around and take a look and see if I could support anybody. You see an interesting amount of diversity too in the I remember 2011 2012 when I was at Heroes Con, and the artist alley tables had so much like diversity of men, women, different races, people creating, versus what you'd see in the mainstream books, at least in 2012 and 2011. I know it's changed now, but back then it was definitely a different story. And I've been watching a nice progression, by the way, of some artists of this level, kind of graduate into the mainstream works, and you're seeing it kind of like now take effect, which is pretty exciting. I have to say, doing artist alley tables, it's really exciting because some people like walk in and all they want is to buy some Batman stuff, some Deadpool stuff, some Ninja Turtle stuff, and stuff like that. What's exciting is when people do take a chance and walk around and get into your stuff. And I've been doing Red Knight for a few years, and I've been doing the Manos channel for a few years. So you and I talked about this a little bit before we went on, and it's so fun and so crazy when people walk up and they know who I am and they want to talk to me, which is really exciting. It makes me feel like, oh, okay, this is all worthwhile, frankly. Because I put a lot of work into Red Knight, and I put a little work into Manos. Not too much. The basic, the least amount you can do, I put into the real Manos. And then a little bit more on your channel. And
well, thanks. I appreciate that.
I do my best to put a little bit more effort if, when I'm doing it for you, man. Because I love you.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
It's exciting. I've had some circumstances where people like come. I've had a couple circumstances where people like have come. Oh, I heard you were doing this, and I came specifically to see you, which just blows my mind. I have somebody to do that. So I kind of keep that in mind when I do shows. It kind of means something to somebody, and I love when people kind of like when they take a chance on your work. I've had experiences where I've had people like buy everything I got. I'll have like a few issues of Red Knight in the trade and stuff like that, and people listen for a couple of seconds and go, oh, okay. And what you got to do is you got to be kind of fun, and you got to be professional. You can't be just. I've seen people come to artist alleys and kind of just show up with an attitude, like they don't even want to be there, which I don't understand. That this is like the most fun work you could do.
Well, it's also just a giant waste of time. Because cons are a lot of work. I mean, I set it up at a table last year. The first time I've done a show is Biggest Planet Comic-Con, and like I said, it's an insane amount of work. I barely. Well, I didn't have to pay for my table because I was doing the game show thing, so I got a table out of that.
Yeah.
And I would have barely broken even if I hadn't, if I'd actually had to pay for my table. And so like and I was sick as a dog that weekend. Like I went because I promised that I would do the stage, and I had to go on stage every hour on the hour. And if you go back and look at the videos, because I have these, I'm not doing this year, but last year I had these trivia shows for all these different categories, and it was a remarkable amount of time it took to prepare for this thing. And I made a giant wooden game show wheel, and we took that with us, and that was we had this whole stage thing set up, and so I promised that I would do this thing, and I was one of the main things that was on that stage, so like I had to go, and I was there, like I said, every hour on the hour all weekend, and Manos, I was like getting bloody noses and stuff that day, like it was rough, and but I mean, I was glad I did it for the experience of being on stage, but I'm finding that for my own stuff, since I don't have a comic, it's not really worth setting up. Like I don't really feel anymore like I need to set up at a show in order to like promote the YouTube channel. I used to do that when I was kind of trying to just get us off the ground, and these days like. If I'm just walking around, people that know me from the channel will just kind of walk up and find me, so I don't even feel like the need to set up anymore. So the only reason I would do that now would be to do like a podcast or a live stream. at the con, and like that's fun. That's worth doing. And even if you don't sell anything, that can be kind of fun just for content and to for people to recognize you locally and know that you're a thing and that you're doing it here and because I like to have I like to be connected with the local community, and we have a lot of course YouTubers and podcasters and stuff around here, and a lot of those folks know me, but I haven't really done a whole lot of actual content at shows. So that now that I'm a little bit less burnt out on cons than I was last year after that experience, I'll probably start doing more of that kind of thing. This year I'm just going to cons though. Saturday we're doing Planet Comic Con. I'm taking Jason to get stuff signed by Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger, and Stan Lee is at our con this weekend, which is a really big deal. We've never had Stan Lee here. We never had anybody of that caliber here. And then in August, I'm taking Jason to Power Morphicon in California. So ridiculous amount of Power Rangers in my life this year. But to piggyback off something you said earlier, it is really cool when somebody comes up and knows you, and sometimes it's hard to decide like what to do with that, because we're just guys making video. I mean, like, you at least have a comic book. You at least, somebody can come up to you and be like, I love your work. Would you sign this? I'm just a guy that puts out videos, and so sometimes the starstruck thing I don't know what to do with, and I hope this doesn't come off as false modesty. It's really bizarre to me when this happens, and I don't know. And I think we've even done videos on. Well, Vince and I did a video last year or the year before on trying to decide what fame means now. So we talked about this a little bit in that video, but like, how do you deal with that, Manos? Like, because you don't want to come off like, look at me, I'm a celebrity. Like, what do you do? Because we're not.
Well, I try to.
We're not even kind of like. It's cool to have a following and people know you and stuff, but you can't put yourself in that. You can't pretend like you're a celebrity.
That's the interesting thing about the internet and social media. But that you and I have been doing for a few years.
Yeah.
That you can develop a small following and kind of become like, I don't know, like, I wouldn't say internet famous, even like that level below internet famous.
Yeah.
Where I feel like sometimes, like, you have a small following and you have a certain level of fame with some people, like, who really enjoy your work.
And there's a little bit of
and with me, I've had I still have to work for a living. I still have to do, standard jobs, at, department stores or wherever I work. And, I have to go make a living. And yet I still have people that, follow my stuff. And it is a balance, because, you don't want to be like, you don't want to have a swelled head and act like a jerk like that. But at the same time, you have to respect people's people's thoughts about you, and enjoying work and being cool for them.
Well, and you're right. You can go way too far in the other direction and like be really dismissive and be like and be like, well, I think it's okay to say, to a degree, to say, I'm just a person. It's okay. You know what I mean? Like don't be nervous. Yeah. It's cool. But like, I think some people will go too far the other direction where they're almost offended by the starstruck thing, and like, I think you have to have some appreciation for that. Like, it's it is really neat that somebody cares about you and your stuff that much. That they would have that with you.
Yeah, I agree. You have to have an appreciation and just let it happen. If somebody's really excited to meet you, just let it happen. Don't be a jerk about it, and don't try to play it off. Just have a conversation and just be real about it and be cool about it. And I did want to talk a little bit about. I mentioned earlier about how some people can be. Have an attitude about not wanting to be there when they do artist ally tables. My advice, and I think you brought it up a little bit when you were talking about the game show. My advice to anybody who is just starting out, who is doing artist alley tables, it's work. Being a self-publisher is work. You have to do everything. If you're the writer or artist, the letterer, the editor, the self-promoter, the guy who funds everything, you have to do everything, and you have to lug everything in your car, and, drive it to maybe hundreds of miles, to conventions. You have to put up money for a hotel, or if you can, crash with somebody, couch surf. All this stuff costs money. All this stuff takes some time to work with. So just got to be prepared for that. This isn't just fun time, 100% fun time where you just get to hang out with your buddies and chat. No, you have to actually put in the time and do the work. Otherwise everybody would do this, and it would be it would be no problem whatsoever. But my wife has her own business. She makes plush dolls, and she has a bit of a following too. And look at all the work she's doing right over here. You can see right there, and this is what she's doing for this show, because she has a convention table as well. And you just don't like swing by a few minutes late and go, okay, hey, buy my stuff and whatever. No, you got to put in the time and put in the effort, because whoops.
Manos, your microphone's off.
Sorry.
There you go.
There we go. You got it?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I messed with the cord. But you got to put in the time and effort for it.
Like I said, I'm kind of at a place now where I kind of just want to go again to shows and not actually, set up and try to sell myself. I think, if I had a comic book, or like a new novel, I probably would, and that can certainly be fun. But like you said, with people that set up and seem to not even want to be there, it would be so easy if you're not well known already, and you don't already have, much of a built-in audience. And even if you're underground and you have an audience, it might be a couple thousand people across the globe. They're not all going to show up to that convention. It would be so easy to sit there and stare at the table and just draw or whatever and make nothing all weekend. What is the point of even being there? Some people, it seems like it's kind of obligatory, where it's like there's a local show, I'm supposed to go. But why? Like, what, if you don't like it, why be there? And that's what I discovered. And this is going to sound a little bit negative on my part, and I don't mean it to be. I'm just kind of, I got burnt out on it for a while, and I'm trying to get like excited about doing it again. And again, I don't have a comic, so like that's a thing. But for me, like, I don't want to go if it's obligatory.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just, and I don't mean to say that you should do everything just for money, but like if you're not even going to try to earn your table back, it's kind of pointless to sit there all day. Like if I'm going to a convention and I'm not going to actually interact with people, I would much rather go to panels and go to and walk around and look at the vendors and stuff.
It is fun. I gotta say, if you can get a table buddy, that's always the best. A lot of shows in the last few years I've gone with. I've been working with Primal Paper Comics, and we just recently switched over to Dead West Comics. And one of my partners, usually with that, is Jeff Hewitt, who does the Ends comic book. And we usually go together, which is great, because we can like take turns, we can enjoy the con for a little while, just be a fan, be a dork, and the other one will man the table, and vice versa. I can go on my lunch break. Jeff can take his smoke break, which he does every 10 minutes. And it definitely takes a lot of tension off. Let's see, Lindsay and I sometimes go together. Sometimes she won't have a table and I will, and she can be my table partner, and vice versa. Sometimes she has some shows that I don't have a table. And it definitely helps a lot to have a buddy.
It's really important to have somebody else there, especially if you really enjoy going to conventions, because if you go to a really big one, especially, it's no fun if you don't get to walk it a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
At least a little. And especially if you're somebody like me and you're a collector, like cons are, part of obviously a collector's bread and butter, especially these days when there's so many of them, that you can go. It's funny because I think conventions are really competing against online stuff these days, where you might think to just jump on eBay and grab a thing, but you might find that thing at a really good deal at a con, and that you're going to soon. And so it's really fun to go look through, back issue bins and toys and stuff. You just do whatever you collect. So it's kind of, so you can kind of double dip if you've got somebody coming with you if you're actually setting up. Do you go to cons really for creators, and not just comic creators, but do you go to cons for celebrities anymore?
Not usually the big celebrities, although if you want to count comic book guys, yes.
Comic book guys. But I mean, like these days, most cons are kind of separated out, right? Where you've got the comic side, and you have the and you have the media side, and the media side is kind of the bread and butter for conventions now. That kind of helps that other side happen. And I've talked to a lot of guys that work at and run conventions talk about this now, where you'll hear comic people, and a lot of people call them snobs, that will complain about the media people. And we had a guy who, with respect, this is just his opinion, but we had a guy on our comic shop documentary who used to run a shop who complained about this and really hated the idea of blending these things, and comic conventions are supposed to be just for the comics. And the argument on the other side was those shows have gotten bigger and more prevalent, and it's easier to make the comic side happen because you have the media guests. And I can totally see both sides of that, and Vince and I did a video about this a year or two ago, but I find that I'm not going for the media guests as much as I used to. Like when I started going to cons, it was for Star Trek conventions, and that was kind of primarily the primary reason you'd go. You go meet people that were in Star Trek. With the comic shows, it's kind of a hodgepodge of people. So if there's somebody that like I really like from something that I've always wanted to meet, then of course like there have been years where at the Superman celebration, there's been somebody that I really wanted to meet. And last year they had. They had Katie Lotz, who plays Sarah Lance, and she was my favorite character in Arrow, so that was exciting. But like by and large, I don't really go for autographs as much as I used to, and I'm not sure why, Manos. Like it's not as big of a novelty for me anymore, and I think it's not as big of a novelty for fans in general now as it used to be. Like people obviously still go for that stuff, and again, you've got people that never would have thought to go to a comic book convention 20 or even 10 years ago that go now, and I think that's a good thing. That helps these things keep growing and stick around. And again, there's two sides to that. I think autographs in general have gotten too expensive because of that. But when you talk to people now and you say, I've met such and such a celebrity, it's not a big deal anymore. It used to be. There was a time, early 2000s, where I'd be like, I've met, such and such Star Trek actor, I'd be Leonard Nimoy, or I guess the first con I ever went to, Manos, was a one-day Star Trek con, and I met Ethan Phillips and Robert Picardo from Voyager. And it was a one-day thing, and they were the only actors there, and they walked the floor with everybody, and like it was this really intimate thing I'd never seen. Of course, that was the first show I'd been to, but I'd never heard of anything like that. And like I would tell people about that, and I was like, yeah, I basically kind of hung out with Robert Picardo. That's not a big deal anymore, and I just think that's really, really interesting, the world that we live in. And I mean, like with Twitter and stuff, we have more direct contact with people than we ever with famous people than we used to. So maybe that's part of it. But yeah, the novelty is gone now to a degree.
I was just about to mention that. Like, what's so cool about Twitter is you can read a comic book and go, oh wow, hey, you can directly talk to Jerry Conway or Brittany Williams or whatever. Go, hey, that new issue was fantastic, I loved it, and they might answer you.
Yeah, directly. And a lot of them do. I know Scott Snyder, to his credit, is one of those that responds to people a lot. He's talked directly to Steve Baxi like several times, and. Yeah. And I just, that's really cool. It can be problematic when you have certain creators and people that don't take criticism well. That'll get they'll get into flame wars and stuff. There's no reason for that. That's unfortunate. And I guess that would be the kind of the con side of that. But it not convention like the pros and cons. The con side of that. But it is like it's kind of a trip, right, man? Like for guys like me and you that like grew up with this big wall between
Yeah.
people that you really admired and that you looked up to, and you might be able to see them at a con, but certain people you'd never. And not everybody's on Twitter, but I mean, like, and not everybody actually responds, but it's this thing that you never expected that you'd get to do.
It is. It's so strange to have the walls broken down. Like,
everybody's a regular real person now. To a degree.
Because I went to see a Ben Folds concert a couple of years ago with Lindsay, and one of the first songs he did was an Amanda Palmer song. And so when I got home, I made a tweet about that, and Amanda Palmer responded to that.
That's cool.
Like, she was really excited. Like, oh, Ben Folds is doing my song. Cool. Like, hi, Amanda Palmer. How you doing? And of course,
there's a difference between they're responding directly to you and opening a dialogue, and they just like the thing you said. But even just they're liking it or responding to the thing you said, not really thinking about you, that's still really cool.
Oh my God! I just had speaking of this, I just had a conversation. I had a Twitter conversation with Sophie Campbell, the artist of Gem, and who did Glory and Ninja Turtles.
And I know you were wait. When did Ninja Turtles? When?
She worked on Ninja Turtles a couple of years ago, back when she was Scott Campbell. And,
was she just like a fill-in artist, or?
Yeah, she was a fill-in artist. It was the one where they were at the barn.
Oh, really? So the aftermath of City Fall, that was the Northampton arc, yeah.
Yeah, the Northampton arc. She was the artist of that.
Oh, okay. I thought those were pretty good.
Yeah,
but
I've been a fan of her work.
That's really cool. Yeah, and I know you were reviewing Glory really hard, trying to get that out there and people knowing about it when that was out, and that got canceled prematurely, I think.
It did, yeah. And she asked her followers a question. About is it cool to make banners and use the licensed characters that you worked on? If it's cool or not to do that. And I threw an answer like that, and she responded back, and then I responded again, and we ended up having a little conversation about it. And
That's really cool.
I was throwing my 2 cents in on it, and trying to give advice. I'm talking to I'm talking to a real deal big artist here, and trying to, give advice on this.
One thing...
I love Twitter.
And I guess this brings it back a little bit back to conventions, but there is, of course, a real big divide, Manos, between I guess I'm saying divide mostly in how easy it is to approach and talk to people, at least when you're talking about conventions, between the media folks and comic creators. It's much easier to walk up to, and even the really big popular celebrity comic writers and artists, because arguably some of them people would and I don't like these labels, but some of them would be labeled by people generally to be a celeb. Stanley is a celebrity. Tom Waltz, maybe not so much. Is a different people would be labeled different ways. And I have found it very easy to jump into that fray and get some people that sell plenty of books that in my mind are popular, really well-known creators to talk to me and come on the channel and do interviews. And as you know, I've done a lot of those, and I haven't done as many lately, but I do them here and there. She strikes me as someone that we should ask to come on the channel.
Yeah.
For instance, that doesn't sound like an impossible get. But you go to the media side, and you've got to have a press pass. You've got to have that kind of clout.
Yeah, that's true. That's one of the exciting things about it. I have definitely thought about approaching some people because,
and that's by the way one of the
working on this channel.
That's by the way one of the reasons that I've gone to cons in the past, and I still do this sometimes, is to try to see if some folks would like to come on and talk to us. And like I said, I don't do as many interviews anymore, but what I'd love to start doing is a little inside baseball. One thing I'd like to start doing is occasionally get somebody in the comic industry to come on 0 Hour and just talk about whatever we're talking about that night with us.
That would be wonderful.
I think that'd be really cool. But you were talking about seeing rising stars. Look at where Cullen Bunn is now. Yeah. I interviewed Cullen Bunn before anybody knew who that was. I talked to him, I think, 3 times before he even did Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. And now he writes, 26 books a month? That guy, he's like one of the most prolific people there is. He's doing a major X-Men book now. Him and Dennis Hopeless, who I've also talked to. And Dennis Hopeless actually lives out here. He's at cons I go to all the time, or he's at store events I go to all the time. But like both those guys have like really risen from doing like a lot of fill-in things and like little one-shots and stuff to writing some of the major books at Marvel. And that kind of stuff. So it's fun to get to know these people as they're becoming really popular. And importantly, because Manos and I are having this conversation kind of as a couple of guys that live on both sides of this. Where we do the fan thing as a job and as part of our passion and career, and then we do the fan thing because we're fans. But I don't think that you necessarily have to have a channel and be well known and all of that in order to have a similar experience. There's a lot of creators that go to every convention that's in their area, whatever the big yearly convention is, and you can go there and talk to them and see them every year, and after a while they'll know who you are, and then you can kind of get to experience that, and as they get bigger and bigger, they'll know you, and that's just a really kind of cool thing to have, and a really nice feeling, and they folks that do this. Comic writers and artists, they love that. They love to know, a lot of them love to know the faces of their diehard fans. And, you don't want to come on too strong, but I think some of those personal relationships with specific fans are actually something that some of these guys cherish.
I would definitely agree with that. And I've definitely heard them, talking in such regards about that. Like, when they come to meet the fans, it's definitely something that that's one of the things why we go to the convention. That's why we love conventions so much. And there are artists who can't, who just can't, make that step. Some don't want to really talk to people,
and that's okay.
And that's okay too. Yeah, whatever your comfort level is. Neil Adams has kind of a wall. I think between him and his fans, there's kind of you have to pay for autographs and pay for a lot, but like my friend Jeff says, it's worth it because he's Neil Adams.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
I don't care how much he charges. It's Neil Adams.
Well, and to be fair, I think there's this misconception with Neil Adams that you have to buy something just to walk up and shake his hand. That's not true.
No, that's not true. That is not true.
I think he has a little bit of a reputation. He is, and no offense to Neil Adams, I know there's no way he's watching this, but Neil Adams is kind of a salesman. He is kind of hawking his stuff, and I don't really begrudge him that, but I mean, he, more than any comic creator I've ever talked to in person, he really wants you to get something. And his tables are and I say tables because he takes up 2 or 3 booths worth of table space. It's enormous, and he's got really cool stuff. I don't know. You do have to buy something from him in order to have it signed, and most comic creators don't do that. But he's Neil Adams. He's on that level. He's on that celebrity level where he can get away with that. And I don't really begrudge him that. Obviously Frank Miller, you're gonna pay for a Frank Miller autograph. That's kind of understandable. He's Frank Miller. If you ever got to meet Alan Moore, you'd probably have to buy him a space shuttle. But yeah, or he's Alan Moore,
on the ground in a circle, and then splatter some blood.
Yeah.
Okay, Alan Moore.
That's hilarious. But
you're right, it is worth it. I mean, particularly some of the big guys, and don't misunderstand what I say. I'm a businessman myself when I go to conventions.
Well, again, you gotta be. You got to make it worth your while. And with respect, and I hope you don't mind my saying this, but when you're a more underground kind of comic creator, that's kind of the easiest place to sell your stuff is at cons. I would imagine, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Tell me, but I would imagine that you sell more overall in a year at a convention than you do online.
I do, yeah. If I'm lucky, I sell a few things here or there online, particularly when I'm in between issues. Like, when I have a new issue out, when I have something new out, then I probably can sell a few more online. But at conventions, that's where I usually do a lot of my bulk stuff.
Yeah, so you got to. I mean,
that's the same with. I know that's the same with Jeff. Jeff sells a lot at his conventions. He, does some original art outside of his own books, and he can have actually a pretty good show sometimes. So yeah, with the fact that I'm not
makes you wish you could draw, yeah. I mean, that's
oh my God,
that's a
every
lot
day.
of that's a lot of the main reason that I haven't really done a book yet. And I've talked to a couple of pretty talented artists that I've wanted to work with, and everybody I've tried to work with has just been too slow. And it's not that I've been like, okay, I won't work with you. It's like they start working on it, and at some point they go, you know what, Cab, it's too much work. I don't want to do it, and they'll quit. It's too much work. People that totally have a fantastic style for comics, but don't know how to do it quickly, and realize that it's overwhelming to them. Yeah, but it's overwhelming to them, and Cab Logan ain't paying them enough, so they're not going to finish my book. But yeah, I always wish that I had a book because, of course, I'd be drawing all the time, and I'd go to more conventions and. That kind of thing. Like, I can only imagine what it was like, Manos, in '93 when you were just as a writer trying to pitch and again, with respect, I would never do that. And you're being older now, you probably know that's not really the way to do it. But
not anymore now. Yeah. You know what I did? When I was looking for artists to work with back in '93, '92. Yeah, I would do a written ad that I would put in the comic book stores, on the pegboards. And I also shelled out a few dollars to put a classified ad in the newspaper.
Did you really? I did that. Looking for an artist?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I did that a couple times, and I got a few people. One guy I had a conversation with over the phone, and he seemed like a pretty cool guy. And the previous guy I had talked to couldn't do backgrounds, so I made sure to asked hey, can you do backgrounds and stuff like that? I know, and it's '93. So
I was gonna say, you knew the joke I was about to make. Manos, who cares? It's 1993.
Yeah, and I remember because backgrounds.
Do you have an orange-colored pencil? You're good.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, this one's angry. Okay, red. But yeah, this guy was like, oh, okay, yeah, I can do backgrounds and buildings. I do design work for architecture. So oh, okay, that's great. That sounds great. And he came and showed his portfolio, and it was literally nothing but those little floor designs when you go to see a house at a some realty, where it's floor, first floor, second floor. That's all he had. I was so mad. I drove 10 miles to get here. We had lunch, and this is all he showed me.
That's funny.
And I did not pick up him as the artist.
Thank God for the internet. You wouldn't have to do that now. You wouldn't. Yeah, you wouldn't take somebody out for lunch. You'd be like, send me stuff, and I'll see if I like it.
Yeah. I found JC Grande through DeviantArt.
Yeah.
Shallow Penfield found me. She found me on Facebook. And
that's crazy.
And same thing with a couple of the artists.
Now and I will happily say this on record that she's my number one choice when I finally get ready to pitch my script to an artist. Because I have a one and done comic story that would be the launching pad for an anthology series, and I haven't found the right artist for it yet, and I still really want to talk to her, and I gotta save up the cash to do it, but
she is worth it.
And she's probably busy, but she's the one that I want to work with more than anybody else right now. She's spectacular. Red Knight issue 6. Yeah. Read that. Oh my God.
And let's see, she has
nobody draws birds like Shiloh Penfield.
That's right, and that's her work's going to be featured in the new trade paperback. By the way, I just released that'll be selling at Tidewater.
Oh yes, of course, because 6. I thought you meant maybe new stuff.
No, not anything new. Red Knight 6 is included in the new trade paperback, and there's a backup story she did for one of the characters. That's going to be in the trade too. So she has 2 things in the new trade. I'm selling at Tidewater Comic Con.
There's that one project that used to be top secret. I don't even know if we can talk about that, but is that still happening?
It's still happening. I actually just got word from the company we approached, and they did turn us down.
Oh, that
Uh,
sucks.
I know. So we're gonna go and approach another company, and I've just been so busy with Tidewater Comic Con.
Yeah.
I was just gonna wait until the next week, and then I'm gonna put out an official submission for that.
I think we're talking about
We
two
have,
different
like, a
things. I know what you're talking about. I meant the Red Knight thing. The other.
the Red Knight thing.
But I don't know. I'm being
I'm
cryptic because
sorry.
I don't know if we can talk about that. But there's a Red Knight thing, and I don't know when that's happening or if that's ever
There is
finally
a Red Knight
happening.
thing. I probably will. I'm gonna do like a fundraiser for it later this summer, so I can get it fully funded. And I guess I'm totally cool right now mentioning it. If
Do
want
you mind?
to.
Because I don't know if we've actually talked about this anyplace at all. But yeah, I wrote a story for a one shot kind of anthology thing that it has like 4-6 stories in it. I forget. Five. But yeah, featuring Red Knight and other characters in the Red Knight universe, and I'm the only one that wrote about a supervillain, and I'm really excited about that. But anyway, but yeah, I'm stoked to see that finally happen and get put in art, because I don't even know who's drawing mine, but I'm really proud of that piece, and I can't wait to see it finally realized. So anyway.
It's a really good script.
Wrote that months ago.
Very happy with it when you said it to me, and I was very
thanks,
happy
buddy.
that you picked that character.
I was worried about it. I didn't think you'd like it. I think it's one of the darker things I've written, honestly.
It is. It's pretty dark for you. It's wonderful. And if you don't mind, I'll mention the character. It's it's the villain Dr. Sci-Fi from Red Knight 5. And man, you had a ball with that character, and I really enjoyed it.
I knew from the beginning when you asked me to write something who I was going to do, and I somewhat dramatize his origin, and then I do some other stuff past that. But yeah,
when I asked you, I pretty much assumed you would pick this character, but I was like, well, you pick who you want. But I was pretty much thinking, like, I know he's going to go with this one.
Come on, he turned regular cars into Transformers. How do you not want to do Dr. Sci-Fi? He's fantastic.
I know, he's so great. And I love the time you picked. I love the fact that you went with the backstory for him. That was really cool. So I can't wait. Yeah, later this summer I'm going to do I guess an Indiegogo for it to fully fund it. I am doing another project later in the fall. I have 2 fundraisers I'm going to do, a separate project with Lindsay. So I don't want to talk too much about that, but that's going to be really cool.
Awesome.
And I may have mentioned that to you.
I knew about that, yes.
Private.
Yeah.
But that I'll talk about more once we get closer to it.
Manos and I and our devious machinations as we're talking on Skype at in the wee late hours of the evening. If you don't mind, I want to talk about one or two kind of convention anecdotes, if I might, of my own.
Let's switch it back to conventions.
Back in the early 2000s, like I said, the first con I did, the first several cons I did were Star Trek cons. The second or third was again a small con, but not as small as that first one, and it was, I think, the last of the Star Trek conventions that we have out here in Kansas City. We don't have any just straight up proper Star Trek conventions anymore, and a lot of these cons are becoming kind of these thick everything kind of conventions. Like even Star Trek cons become kind of general sci-fi conventions if they're not comic book shows, and a lot of comic book shows have at least one, if not several, Star Trek actors at them. So this will be the second or third time we've had George Takei at ours at Planet Comic Con. He's there this weekend. Like every show is a Star Trek show or it's a comic show. One of those two things is gonna permeate anything. Well, until you get into like the anime shows and stuff like that. But anyway, the second or third show I went to was the last show of the Star Trek conventions out here from an old outfit called Slanted Fedora, which it went under right after that. And it was a lot of kind of minor Star Trek actors, and it was a real treat to get to meet a lot of those people. And I paid the extra bucks to do the like late night karaoke party. And the karaoke party I let you go on stage and do karaoke with a couple of the actors, and I sang a duet with Spice Williams. That's her name. I've been sitting here trying to remember her name. Vixis from Star Trek V. The big Klingon lady. She and Claw were there, and she's a bodybuilder and a stunt woman, and she did all the stunts for Mary Jane in the Spider-Man movies. And she's like ginormous, and she's got like these huge arms, like she could bench press me and you and like everybody in Geekvolution like all at the same time. And she like fireman, like one of the things that she used to do at shows is she would like fireman carry like 300-pound men, and it was amazing. Well, she was kind of terrifying to sing with because she's so because she's like a tyrant, and so like she's like a titan. She's just she towered over me, right? And we sang Frank Sinatra's "I Did It My Way," and she had her hand she had her arm over my shoulders the whole time, and it was awesome but mortifying because she could have crushed me at any moment. I think I've never told that story. She was wonderful. That was a lot of fun, and I was like 19, 20. I was a kid, and she thought it was cute, and I don't know. It was fun.
That's hilarious. I never heard that before.
But that's a thing I thought I'd bring up since we're just kind of reminiscing about conventions.
Let's see. I think I told you this, but I don't know if I've talked much about this one. I did let's see, as a fan, I went to HeroesCon, which, by the way, is an excellent convention in North Carolina. If you ever can go to HeroesCon, anybody watching this or you, it's a great show. And Chris Robinson was still is. He's the creator of iZombie. And back when iZombie was just a simple comic by him and Mike Allred, I loved it, and I reviewed the heck out of it all the time. And I wanted to get him, he was going to be there, so I wanted him to sign my copy of the #1. And when I'm walking up to him with a copy of it in hand, looks me right in the eye and goes, "Hey, you're the real Manos."
That's pretty cool.
I was like, "What?" And no, I'm here to see you.
For the record, I haven't gotten that one yet. I'm waiting for that. That's awesome.
And apparently he had been watching my reviews of his comic, and was very happy that I was spreading the word about the book, because it was pretty underground. Not too many people were talking about it at the time. So
never thought it would get a TV show.
Yeah, never that. I'm still surprised, pleasantly surprised,
especially because it rocks. Like a TV show, much less one that's like really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know, it's solid. And even though it plays around a lot and changes a lot of stuff, what they make is great. But yeah, that was a really exciting moment.
Yeah, that's really... No, you have told me that, but that's a great story. That's really cool.
Yeah. That made my convention. I was really, like, the whole show, I was like, "Hey, man, Chris Robinson, who is?"
Yeah, we're talking about... We were talking about people that know us and like fans of the channel that have come up to us. I've had it happen a couple times outside of geeky places. It's usually, and I don't know if you've had this. It's usually geeky places. There's usually at least a few people at the Superman celebration, and of course, like you said, like I will tweet sometimes like events I'm at and places I'm gonna be. Like I had a couple subscribers come to a yard sale I had a few years ago. That was pretty funny. Like let's buy some of Captain Logan's old crap. That was cool. But I had a kid once at a Taco Bell come up to me. My wife and I and my kid were having dinner. This is before Freddie was born, and this like 16-year-old kid walks up. He's real nervous, and he goes, "Are you Captain Logan?" And I was like, "Yep, I'm Captain Logan." He goes, "Okay, I was just checking," and then he leaves. He just walks off, and I threw my hands in the air, looked at Sarah, and I was like, I would have talked to him for a minute. Like, I thought that was hilarious.
That's very funny. I had man, when I was a teenager, I kind of did the same thing to a local DJ. A guy named Mac McClellan. I went bowling once, and he was a couple of lanes down bowling. I was like, oh my god, that's Mac McClellan. And I pretty much did the same thing that kid did to you. It's like, well, hi, Mac McClellan. It's like, yeah, okay.
It's like if you build up the gumption to what, and I don't mean to make fun of this kid. It was cool that he said anything, but like if you build up the gumption to, if you're really nervous to like walk up to somebody that you respect but they don't actually know you. Again, I don't mean celebrity. They're just somebody that you know and they don't know you. Like go the extra mile. At least shake his hand.
Yeah, I can see where the kid was coming
from.
Oh,
me too, absolutely.
I've literally been in that position, and
but I'm just giving him the advice. I'm just giving people like that the advice of most people are friendly. Not everybody,
yeah.
But most people are, and like maybe I'm just too optimistic, Manos. Like maybe I'm a bit of an idealist, but I feel like the majority of people, especially people like us that are just on camera talking, what you see is often what you get. You know what I mean? Like, if you look really personable on camera, you're probably personable in real life. I think most people are that way. Maybe not, like, there's probably less of that in Hollywood, but those of us that are just hanging out in our basements talking on camera, like, if we seem pretty friendly and enthusiastic on camera, we're probably going to be that in real life.
Yeah, I try to be who I am on camera as much as I can. I try not to do a character as much, and I don't know. I have the feeling too. Like my first impression of a person is I'm willing to wager you're a pretty awesome guy until you prove me otherwise. And
people get so.
I like meeting people.
I have talked to subscribers on Skype before. And that like were asked me to do an interview or something, and I'll get on Skype with them and I'll start talking to them, and they'll be like real put off by me for a minute, and I'll be like, "What's the matter?" And they're like, "Well, it's like talking to a YouTube video." I'm like, "Well, what did you expect?"
It is, and
I'm pretty much the same. I mean, like people that I know in real life talk about like how energetic I am and how flamboyant I am, and that I'm kind of larger than life. But like, I'm not putting on a character. That's just me. Like, I'm just that way.
Yeah. I've had that happen a couple times. I had a friend who was doing some kind of group chat on Skype, and he asked me if I could like come in on it, and I said, "Yeah, sure, give me a minute." And then I came in on it, and I could hear everyone just go quiet and explode. Like, oh my god, I can't believe it's like, oh, what's going on? Oh, it's me. That's right. So that's, I don't know. It's kind of fun being on that side of it. And I am.
It's flattering, most certainly.
It is. Well, you and I, like, we brought this up maybe already once before, but we're in kind of that middle ground where we have a following, but we're not that big, and we're also fans as well. So we both are on both sides of that coin. This
phenomenon of being known for being a fan is something I would never have predicted when I was younger. You see people appear at conventions as guests for cosplay now. I could never have predicted that.
I'm surprised about that too. And I actually even follow a couple people who are like professional cosplayers.
But that's a skill, and that's an amazing thing, and then some of those people are very deserving of it. Like, I don't have any problem with that. If you can be legitimately popular and people see it as a legitimate career, sitting here having a discourse about this stuff in front of a camera, if you can build like a 7-foot tall Predator suit and make it look like screen authentic, you deserve the following. You deserve having a following a lot more than I do. That's amazing. I have so much respect for those guys, and Jeremy Pierce, the guy who did the Spawn suit and all that stuff for Spawn Year. I just don't even understand how he figured out how to do all that stuff. I have so much respect. It's amazing. And quick plug there too. real quick, we are doing a sequel to Spawn Year that's going to start later this year, and Pierce is coming back and doing costume work, and he's working on some latex stuff right now. I can't wait for you guys to see it, because it's amazing. But anyway, and it's not Spawn. It's another thing, and I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, but he's already sent me some pictures, Manos, the last couple weeks of stuff he's working on for that project, and
that's so amazing.
It's going to be cool.
Cosplayers has developed into this, like, almost movie-ready kind of look for a lot of their work.
Right? Yeah. Well, the technology's gotten so much cheaper.
Yes, and it is.
I mean, that's why all of us can do this stuff too. But yeah,
I consider it an art form, really.
It is most certainly.
It is a way of their interpretation of these characters, and in the last 10, 15 years, you've seen them kind of play around with characters. Do crossover concepts that maybe they come up with, or different looks for the characters.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing as an artist doing his take on Batman or some other character.
Yeah.
I was talking to I think Connor the other day about this, and I was showing him up close some of the props from Spawn Year because of all the detail work that Pierce did. And one of the things that you don't see on camera, I tried to get up close to it a couple times so you could see it, but I don't think it ever really came out on camera. Pierce is so detail-oriented, and he's such a perfectionist, that one of the things he did, and this just goes to your point about it being an art form, one of the things he did, Manos, is that chest plate has maggots crawling all over it.
Ugh.
It's amazing, like that he went to, not real ones, that he went to that level of detail. It's amazing. And also I was impressed that I put that suit on like 200 times and almost none of them ever came off, which is amazing.
I had a moment where I acted like a child when I saw this one cosplayer. I was literally like a kid. And
I want to wager you've probably done that more than once, man. I had this one time where I acted like a child. I don't know, Manos. I don't know. Knowing you, maybe twice.
Last Tidewater Comic-Con, I was at my table, being a rock star and stuff like that, being cool. And I saw in the corner of my eye one of the cosplaying table next to me. It was where he was signing up for the contest and stuff like that. So there were just tons of cosplayers over on my left. So, I'm signing a comic, talking about the comic, and I see in my left corner eye this gigantic white and pink creature, and I took a look, and I was like, oh my god, and I said this out loud, like, oh my god, it's Rose Quartz.
Oh, and I saw your picture of that on Facebook,
Universe.
yeah.
And yeah, you seen that picture. She was like 8 feet tall. She had those kind of stilts or something like that.
Yeah.
And she had this amazing hair, this amazing dress. She looked fantastic. And it's like that was just perfect. And I love how amazing people go with sizes and characters and all sorts of
things. And that stuff is not easy to wear all day, especially the really impractical, complicated stuff where you make yourself taller, or where you encase yourself in a cocoon that you can't get out of without 15 people helping you. Those are amazing.
Yeah. Even the lamer ones are awesome. But I mean, I've seen ones that are very intricate. And some are very simple, but either way, I'm impressed. I'm blown away by anybody who does that stuff.
I saw this video on Facebook last week where there was a kid that did it for Halloween, and he was in his school hallway, and he had a transformer set up, and his was such where if he laid down and put his hands in a certain place, he was a car. And then and I was like, that's awesome.
It's the coolest thing. Whoever started thinking that first, bravo.
I saw it a couple years ago, Mr. Freeze, that actually had the light-up dome head, and he had a voice modulator and had rigged it to sound a lot like the Mr. Freeze from the animated series, and I was like, that was pretty cool. I've seen a couple of Freezes. That was pretty dynamite.
Yeah, I would have to agree to that.
But anyway, well, let's go ahead and go to rants real quick. And we've been talking forever, and this conversation had really no through line except we're talking about conventions. Usually we answer a question of some kind. No insight today, just us rambling about conventions.
Nope.
So now Manos is going to make up for it with his incredibly insightful rant. Go ahead, Manos.
Yes. All right, now this is something that I don't really think is really necessary for a whole video, so I think it's probably good for a rant here. Is DC Comics made an announcement this week that they are getting rid of their New 52 logo, and they've replaced it with a sort of retro logo, which resembles, I think, the 1972 logo or something like that.
It does.
Which is a simple circle with DC in the middle, just before they went to the bullet.
It's just slightly more jagged on the edges, where like the D has a point and the C has a point, and that's the only difference.
And I gotta say, I'm really happy with it, because I've made no secret to you that I thoroughly dislike their New 52 logo. I thought
it was dumb too, and I mean,
it's
like,
terrible.
I didn't disown the company over 52 like you did, but man, that logo is awful. Like the peel back thing, here's the thing. Everyone that I've talked to thinks that logo is dumb, and I have talked to people who didn't even know what it was that have been like, "What even is it?" Like, people can't read it.
I know, that's the thing that drove me nuts. It's like, I can't read it. And you know, what was so funny was I used to think it was the perfect symbol for DC New 52 because it's unrecognizable, just like their company. And
internet high five, I love that. That's hilarious.
They pull it back. It looks like some metal toilet seat. I don't know what it is. And it was awful. I'm very happy that they went back and did a simplistic, nice, simple DC, and also it has respect for the history, because it's pretty much a callback to one of their older logos. So I think symbolically, I think it's a step in the right direction that DC really has. I think they're heading in a good place right now.
I do too. So what your rant is, like, that logo used to suck? Like, is
the logo was terrible. Now it's good.
That's good.
Should I break it down a little more?
No, not at all. I just think that's funny because usually rants are like, he's new. Usually rants are like, I'm gonna complain about this thing. Manos is like, I never got a chance to complain about this thing, so I'm gonna complain about it now. That's logo only made sense. I still didn't like it, but that logo only made sense when it moved. That's what was so weird about it, was in their movies, they did the peel back thing, and it's like, okay, if you had only ever seen it that way, and and the logo on the books wasn't that, you probably wouldn't think anything of it. Because in animation, you can tell what's going on. It's like a page peel. And like, I get what the idea was. It's a page peel, it's a page turn, it's comic books. Okay, like, that's alright, but unless you saw it move, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I think that's probably partly the influence of why they went with that logo, because they were probably thinking, we're really going to expand into multimedia and films in the next few years, and this is going to be a logo that's going to reflect that. I'm pretty sure that was probably the thinking of it, but you're right. As a still image, it's terrible, and it's unrecognizable. And I had a huge...
And no reason you can't have two. Like, I don't know why you couldn't have a logo for that and a logo for comics necessarily. Like, do you have to have consistent branding across the board? Like, we all know what it is. Like, I don't know that that's really that big of a deal.
I had a good laugh because back when I was doing Comic News with Duke, actually, was when they unveiled this logo. And Duke had showed me a link to the company of the marketing people that were doing, that created the logo. And their logo was a plain yellow background with I think they're an R, and that was it. It's like, this is the company who spent millions of dollars? Their own logo is an R?
and they probably designed this one.
Oh my god! Like, I
don't know.
I mean,
they're probably...
anybody could have done that.
Well, anybody can do that. You go back to the 1972 logo and you go, we're done.
I know. So,
but I am glad they did that. It's cool.
Yeah, my rant is definitely, the old logo was awful, and it was unreadable. It was dumb. It had no real respect for the company and the history. The new one is terrific for all the opposite reasons. That
thing, Manos, is immortalized now in no fewer than like 4 movies, right? Because Batman v Superman has it, and
I think it
has to, right? I think it's at least in Rises. Is it? I don't think it's in. No, I can't go back to Dark Knight because that's 2008. We didn't have that yet. That was with New 52, but it's in Rises, and it's got to be in Man of Steel, and it's got to be in Batman v Superman, and I don't know that there's anything else like off the beaten path Vertigo stuff that might have it, but I don't know if Red has it. I don't think it does, but
it may. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. But anyway,
I think the cool Vertigo, because they had a cool Vertigo.
Oh, you're right. Usually they just have a Vertigo logo and they don't even bother with the DC logo in those.
That's true. And I guess we'll see if it pops up. I don't know if it'll pop up in Suicide Squad. It may be too late. We'll see if it pops up in Wonder Woman next year.
Good point. Yeah, yeah. We'll probably still have the old crappy logo in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I know.
You know what would be really cool if the last time we saw it, it peeled back, and then like Deadshot or Rick Flag or somebody shot the crap out of it.
That would be
it's like, and you're like, and then never again. You never see it again. And then and then if they do a Suicide Squad 2, you have the new logo, and they try to shoot at it, and it just bounces off, and like it spins around, and yeah.
Suck it, logo.
That'd be pretty cool. Okay, so Manos, my rant. This is an odd, random thing. Have you ever been to an Ikea?
Yes.
Okay. I, for the first time ever this week, went to an Ikea. And I do not understand Ikea. It is the strangest store I've ever walked through. A really popular thing. People are constantly talking about how great their furniture is. There's a couple things I don't understand about Ikea. And this could have been a rant even before I went to one, but I'll do the first part about actually going there first, which is, that didn't feel like going to a store. That felt like walking through a museum. I have never been to a store that has, and I don't know if they're all this way, but the one I went to, is weird because it was just erected a couple of years ago here in Kansas City, here in Overland Park, and it feels like, I'm interrupting my rant with another rant. It feels like somebody just dropped it in the middle of an area of a business area that like it doesn't even fit in. Like it's just really intrusive, and it almost it's so big it almost doesn't fit in the space that it's in. And other businesses naturally have cropped up around it, and so it's even more crowded and just doesn't even feel like it should go there. It's like Brainiac went to some city and shrunk it down, and then came to Overland Park and like pressed a button, and it just like grew it there. And so you walk in to this Ikea, and it's got arrows that tell you where you're supposed to go, like it's it's traffic. I've never seen that for anything. It was so weird. Like, you can't, that is the last store on earth you would walk in to grab something and leave. You can't do that. You walk through the whole thing. And, it's an interesting gimmick. Like, it's a warehouse is basically what it is. And I didn't realize that walking into it, because I was comparing it, of course, to the other big furniture store in town, Nebraska Furniture Mart. And Nebraska Furniture Mart is an enormous store that's like the size of a city, but it's not that, like, they could have built the set for Batman Begins inside of the Nebraska Furniture Mart, but like you could actually walk in there and grab something and leave. You just might have to walk a while. But this thing had it was like an airport. This place,
it's like if you put a furniture store in Pinewood Studios.
Yeah, yes. When you leave, you have the option to get on a conveyor belt that's slanted, and you can put your shopping cart on it, and the shopping cart has these little grooves so that they'll stick into the conveyor belt. And I was like, this is neat and all, but I feel like I'm in an airport. And we just walked around it. We had like a half an hour tour of this place. I was like, this place would be killer for like a haunted house at Halloween. Like, these people should totally turn this into a haunted house. It was a really interesting thing to walk through, and there were certainly a few pieces of furniture there that I was interested in, and the prices were amazing. It was, it was worth it. There were some, especially some like glass display cases that I would love to put down here in my bat cave, because like most of my furniture down here is glass, and I've wanted some glass display cases down here, and I found a couple of things, Manos, that were like perfect, exactly what I've been looking for like $67. And I was like, wow, this is fantastic. But I just thought it was really weird the way it was laid out, where like you have to walk through all of it. I've never seen that before. I'm sure glad that I had half an hour to kill, because
you can't swing by. You can't swing by an IKEA.
No.
It is designed like a theme park.
Yes.
And it has a very specific design to take you throughout the entire thing, where it kind of like designs all its showrooms and it kind of tries to kind of create an atmosphere of like, oh, this is what this house will be like.
Exactly.
This is what this room will be like.
Yeah. What they do is they make, for instance, they have like a kitchen. I'm sure everyone watching has been to these places and been like, Captain Logan, this is the first time. Yes, I've never been to an Ikea. Okay. Hopefully, there's some people that live on a farm watching. But anyway, so for instance, they have like a kitchen that you could like buy kitchen things out of, or say I'd like to have that sink or whatever. But the second thing, Manos, the second part of my rant, and this is the bigger thing that I've always thought is weird, is IKEA has become like a noun for anything you buy and assemble there. And I don't understand that. Like, I get this with restaurants in a way I don't get this with furniture, right? Like, you wouldn't buy one of those like do-it-yourself bookshelves from Target and be like, would someone come help me assemble my Target? Like, people would be like, what, are you gonna fire arrows? Like, no one would know what you were talking about. But IKEA, you hear this all the time. It's become like almost this like new age slang thing where it's like, I need help assembling my IKEA. No, you need help assembling your display case that you bought at IKEA. And I don't know why, but like I said, with food, it's not as weird. Maybe it's just because I've heard it my whole life, and it's with every restaurant. Like, you could say, I'm gonna go get Taco Bell, or I'm gonna go get Red Robin, or I'm gonna eat McDonald's. And like, that's not literal, but for some reason, because I haven't heard this with anything else that's coming to mind, it just seems really weird. I'm gonna assemble my IKEA.
Yeah. I've actually, Lindsay and I have been to IKEA once, actually. The couch from Romana. This is an IKEA couch, and we had a really good time there. We had a really good experience there. We were like there for like 2 hours, really, and we picked the couch out, and this thing was pretty inexpensive and very very we really enjoyed it.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, no. The service was really good because we took my Hyundai Accent, and we realized when we got all the parts, it wasn't going to fit into the car. And we talked to the clerk behind the counter, and she said, well, we can deliver it, but that was going to be an extra $200. And then she suggested, well, what you can do is you can take the stuff out of the boxes, and you'll be able to put it in to the car easier, and you can leave the boxes over by the door. We did that, and it fit completely in the car with no trouble whatsoever. And we were both very thankful she suggested that, because we would probably just had to like bite the bullet and do a huge payment on the shipping. So yeah, we had a pretty good experience with it.
See,
we assembled the couch the next day. Because we drove a lot, so we were just like, let's do it tomorrow. And I wisely let Lindsay put the couch together and stood out of her way, because if I'd helped her, we probably would have been fighting.
And was she like, here I am, building this IKEA? No! She was like, I'm making a couch!
I assisted her, and stood out of her way, which I think is the wise move.
See, I just gotta mention, I can't believe we got here, and this was not in any way by design, because, like, permit me, I gotta tell everybody about this. So, Manos was trying to decide what his rant was gonna be before we started, and we had this joke about how he was gonna talk about how his couch was too comfortable, and somehow or rather, it came back around to Manos' couch! That's amazing! How does that happen? Well, anyway, everybody
did it.
Everybody, thanks always for watching Geeks Not Nerds. Hope you enjoyed the show today. And Manos, thanks for being with me. This is fun.
No problem.
As
thanks.
always.
I always love being here. And let's see, I will be at Tidewater Comic Con. I'm selling my books and these cool Red Knight pop figures, which I've had Lindsay make. I have two that's going to be at the show.
Oh, that's awesome.
And, yeah, if they sell, I might make these more available to people.
Yeah, those are. I saw one. I didn't know she was actually going to sell any. That's super cool. Do you still have one that you've kept?
Oh, well, yeah, the one she got me for Christmas, I'm keeping forever.
Cool, awesome.
But
I forgot that was a Christmas present. But anyway.
She decided to make one for me, and I loved it so much. And I said, "Hey, do you think you could do this, and maybe we could sell some?" She said, "Yeah, it's no problem making them." And here he is, right here, and he looks awesome. He looks like an actual store bought one. So yeah, I can't wait to show these to fans.
Well, folks, thanks again for watching. We sure appreciate it. I am Captain Logan.
And I'm the real Manos.
And we'll talk about something else for you once again next week.